Hey Amy, how are you? I'm trying to invite Ellen. Hey Lace, how's it going? Hey Lace, how's it going? Hello, my love.
Oh, hello. You look so pretty.
Oh, thank you.
How's it going? Did you get a haircut yesterday?
A couple days ago. It was like,
Yeah, I
my
like
hair
it.
grows so fast.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
it. I like it long and crazy. I think it looks cute.
Yeah, it's kind of short on top now, but it was a little bit crazy before. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. Thanks for joining my live.
I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about all of this. How are you? So before we start, how are you feeling with the pod dropping and everything?
I feel pretty good about it. I've been getting really interesting feedback. It was the best thing that's happened so far is, Pam called me, I think it must have been Thursday or Friday from prison. And she was like, obviously I can't listen to it, but everybody's calling me and emailing me or emailing me, not calling me, and telling me that they love it. And she read a review from someone who's like a longtime follower. Someone had emailed her immediately, and she read this really long, in-depth review that was like broke down the production, everything. And it was really nice to hear. But it was, yeah, the feedback's been really good so far. I think obviously there are some you saw through Facebook and through Patreon. I think it's difficult when we're talking about subject matter where a minor is involved. So I think that was something that right off the bat, was something I've thought about it because I cover it in the episodes, but I didn't think about it when I'm just talking like we're talking right now.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's difficult to think about it and be like, okay, using words like affair or relationship is difficult for some people to understand or to hear, and it's not always the right way to say it. But so that's really the only feedback that was sort of like, oh, I didn't realize that I was doing that, and it was really good to be able to hear that.
Yeah. I agree. And also you have to, it's weird to think it's so macro, and it's like in your mind you're like, oh, people who like know me and like know my heart know what I mean, and you're like, oh no, these are people who actually know nothing about me.
Nothing about me. Yeah.
And that's like, it's really hard to sort of like explain to your brain that like sometimes, if someone, it's almost like people are walking in the middle of a sentence because they don't know you. Because it's hard to imagine all the people out there that don't know you. You're like, you know me, like, I'm a good person,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a learning curve. I still do that sometimes, like to this day. I'll make a joke and I'm like, you know what I meant.
Right.
Like, no, bitch, we don't know who you are.
And, and it's tough for me too, because like as a survivor of sexual assault, like I don't want, my base level is always to believe the victim, and I think we talked about this a while ago, but one of the cases that I'm thinking about covering, and my I will call her my cousin-in-law, although we're not in law, but Lacey is on the feed right now, and she's been helping me do some research and stuff for Pam. But the next case that I'm hoping to cover is in Morgantown, where Lacey lives and where Lindsay's family is from. And it's actually about a very well-known rapist who, after I've been doing some research, I'm starting to think that he might actually be innocent. And I think I'm really gonna struggle with covering that because my instinct is to believe victims. So anyway, so it's, when I go into, when I'm talking to you and Rabia, I was just super excited and talking about the case and not paying attention to my language so much. So I need to be better about it.
I don't think it's like, honestly, I think you handled it perfectly.
Yeah.
And I think anyone who there's, I always say it's the how, not the what.
Yeah.
Because like you just, and it's just one of those things, just like it's always really funny to me when someone says, well, you said this, I'm never listening to you again. You're like, whoa, okay. Like, I want to go with you through your average day, and I want to know what it's like to be perfect, because that must be a fucking blast. Yeah. You know, it's like, you know, and I think that the way you handled it was great. And I think, and it's not going to be the first, it's not going to be the last. Like, you know, say shit all the time. Like, I said something the other day. I can't remember. We were talking about, it was something that we said in Kinky Boots, and Joey, I can't remember what the word was. And I don't think it was trans. It was a word about trans. And Joey's like, we don't use that word. I'm like, wait, what? Like, and I'm totally fine. I just was like, I just didn't put that on my, like, do not use list, you know? Yeah. It's like, and people, you know, people can be weird. And the people who want to rage farm, you go do that. You manufacture all that rage you want. It's that's not your people. That's like 1% of people, you know?
Yeah. And it kind of leads into sort of what I wanted to talk about today. So I don't know why, but TikTok wouldn't let me put like a subject up. But so the second episode of the podcast is titled Resting Bitch Face, right? And so I wanted to talk about this thing because I am accused of all the time of having resting bitch face. Because I know when I concentrate, like I play tennis, and I swear to God, every person that I play tennis with is like, why are you so angry when you play? And I'm like, it's just my face, you guys. I'm just concentrating. Like I'm not actually an angry person. But the reason that the reason I titled the episode that is because Pam Smart has been accused of being cold and manipulative and showing no emotions during the trial and things like that. And so that whole resting bitch face moniker has it stayed with her. And I part of that is, I think, why she was convicted, because people felt like they couldn't break through that facade or see her personality. She has a huge personality. Like we've talked about this before. She's fiery and she's funny and she's smart and she's all these things. But when, people are just like, you need to smile more, or you need to show remorse, or you need to show sadness. And one of the things that I cover I think it's in this episode, is basically that dichotomy for women, especially, where we're like, her lawyers told her not to show any emotion, right? Mm-hmm. So we're either showing no emotion, and so we're therefore cold, or we're showing too much emotion and we're then hysterical. And there's no in between, which is funny. So I wanted to talk to you about that, because I'm sure that you get that all the time. Although I don't know if I've ever seen any pictures of you where you have resting bitch face. You're always smiling. I mean, in my personal life with you, obviously, I've seen, you go through the gamut of emotions, but you're in an industry where you have to smile. Yeah. Yeah. So I was hoping you could talk about your experiences with it a little bit. I got some feedback on the title of the episode, which, no one's heard the episode yet, so it's strange to get this feedback. But I got some feedback that was like, well, you can't title this episode this, because this is what media has done to Pam her whole life. And I'm like, that's the point.
Yeah, it's a play on words, people. What's interesting about resting bitch face, I've seen your face, your concentrating face. Yeah. And I think that it's interesting that people will categorize just neutrality as being a bitch. Yeah. So it's not only just like being just here, being at ground zero. Yeah. That makes you a bitch. It's not actually looking angry. It's just being neutral. And I think that's so funny. And, and we are talking about women, because the word bitch is inherently gendered, right?
Right.
I mean, if you call a man a bitch, it's because he's acting, you're giving him proximity to a woman. You're being a little bitch, right?
Yeah, you're emasculating him.
Right. So I think that, it's hilarious, because it is our incessant policing of women. Look what's happening with, Kamala Harris. Either, okay, so if she laughs, she's a cackling hyena.
Right,
but
right.
then if she's too serious, she's cold. Bitch, make up your fucking mind. But it's like you can't win for trying, you know? So I think it's so funny that like we aren't allowed to think or feel or question. Usually my resting bitch face is like, I mean, I had a cheeseburger yesterday, but I really want one. I should treat myself. You know, it has nothing to do with anything, you know? So, oh, thank you for whatever that was. That was cute.
You know what that was?
It's non-threatening, but the moment we take a beat, and it's interesting with Pam, because if she was crying, she would have been crazy, hysterical, lock her up, put her in a straight.
It would have been acting. It would have been manipulation.
Absolute. You're so right. Yes, yeah. It would have been manipulation. She is. Oh, thank you, Lindsay. I don't know what that was, but like, you know, it is funny because it's just interesting. I also think of like, that is the litmus for women. I mean, think about like when women are walking down the street. What do men say when they're catcalling?
Why don't you smile more?
Hey, baby, what's got you so down? Why aren't you smiling? Come on, baby. Let me make it. As if we have to walk around being grateful for our existence. We don't have to think about how we're paying our fucking bills and how we're taking care of our kids. No, as long as you're smiling and you're making everyone else comfortable. So it's interesting with Pam. I mean, I've heard her, you know, she's indignant about being, you know, whatever she thinks, you know, happened. And if I were in the same position, there is nothing worse than not being heard and being misunderstood. And whatever you think about Pam and whatever you think about her trial, whatever you think about her, you know, her sentencing, at the end of the day, she thinks she was wronged. And how are you supposed to act when you're wronged?
Yeah.
Where's the playbook for that? Because I, you know, the minutes, if someone thinks something that I said, you know, I've not spoken about this, but you know, Robbie is much more contentious. She's a little more prickly than me, and she would say that in a heartbeat. Yeah. And someone quoted something that she said as something I said.
Oh, interesting.
And she is well within her right to say whatever she wants, but it was like this immediate panic of being like, I didn't say that, and like wanting to right this like weird wrong. So I mean, it's like, I would love to know how people would have wanted Pam Smart to sit in the trial.
Well, that's the thing. I think that, you know, the media played a huge part of this, because before they went to trial, I mean, there was a documentary that came out 2 days before trial, and the lead reporter from the small town, Bill Spencer, told the whole community she was guilty. That's what the documentary was about, right? All of the newspapers, you know, the Boston Globe was running polls. Like, they had a 1-800 number that you could call and vote if she was guilty or not. Every person that walked into that jury pool, and every person that was watching that trial and was, you know, anywhere close to that trial, had their opinion before they walked in. But on top of that, the media was already calling her an ice princess. They were already saying she wasn't showing enough emotion. And then, you know, she has to trust her lawyers that they know what they're talking about. And her lawyers said, don't make any facial expressions, don't show any emotion, just take it in.
I couldn't do that.
I couldn't either. I always think about that. I think about if I had been in her shoes, I would have been fucking pissed. Like, I would have been like, I can't tell my story. I can't get up there and defend myself. I mean, she did. She took the stand, but she didn't take the stand until the very end. And so she sat through a trial where everybody was just calling her a slut, basically, saying she masterminded this whole thing, saying she was manipulative and vindictive and she was a money-grubbing whore. And that's what the whole community was saying, too. And to not be able to respond to that, you know, to not be able to defend.
That would be torture to me.
Torture. I couldn't do it. I couldn't keep my face from showing emotion.
Sometimes when I'm editing like our videos for the pod, like, you know, we'll have a guest, you know, like you were on or something. And I am a fucking Muppet, Mel. I'm literally like this.
Yeah, I know.
I have no idea I'm doing it. But like someone will say something truthfully and I'll go,
really?
If I'm ever on trial for murder, say when I'm on trial, I feel like there should just be a camera on my face. But that actually had to have been a exercise for her.
Well, and also, and first of all, I just want to say thanks for the comment, Lace. Yeah, how young she was. So she was 21 when she went to trial. Can you imagine trying to keep your emotions in check at 21? And then they're doing the perp walk every day. They walked her through the gamut of cameras to the courtroom every day. And she had to have this like stone face. And it's, I mean, to think like today, if you look at like court TV coverage, right? There's usually one dedicated camera in the courtroom. It's usually, there might be two. There's no camera anywhere near the jury. The camera is usually focused from the back of the courtroom toward the judge. You can usually see the people, you know, like the prosecution and the defense. In this case, the camera, there were 30 photographers in the room. They were sitting next to the jury. They were like, the jury's trying to pay attention and the cameras are clicking right next to their heads. And it makes me think again of like the Karen Reed trial, because what's happening there, she's one of those people that cannot stop her expression. And every single day I felt like when the trial was happening live, court TV was like, oh, wait till you see this expression from Karen Reed. Oh, look what she's doing now. Oh, look, she turned around and looked at a juror. Oh, she's looking at John O'Keefe's brother. Oh, she's scowling. Oh, she laughed. Like yes. How do you not?
But could you imagine Pam doing that walk every day, right? No. That same walk. But imagine her doing this.
Right. Exactly. She's laughing as she's coming into the courtroom. Right.
So she's giving you neutral.
Right.
But to most people, on a woman, neutral is bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's it. Because we have to be smiling and we have to be grateful. And what's interesting, and I know that like you kind of like cover this in the episode, in your, you know, future episodes, but like it's interesting that the patriarchy is so strong because it has created a system by which not only do men do this, but then women with their own internalized misogyny also do it. So it's not just men saying it, it's women who also ridicule women, which I actually take way more serious. I take the opinions of women way more seriously. I say this all the time. I would say I do my makeup for women. I dress for women. Because women, you know, we're just smarter. And but it's just so interesting that neutral, I'm giving you nothing. So this would be my neutral face. Like,
yeah, and you look pissed off and annoyed.
That's literally just my face at rest.
Yeah. Yeah, and when I concentrate, I'm like, I scowl. I'm like, I mean, I can barely see.
Listening. Yes. If I'm listening, I'll go see a show sometimes. And my friend, because, you know, you can see like the first like 10 rows at a Broadway theater. And my friend will be like, you hated it, huh? I'm like, I loved it. But it's because I'm going like this.
Concentrating. I know.
I'm hanging on every word. I'm not performing for you.
No.
But you do that, you know, when you're on stage, you're looking at your friends' reactions. But if I'm giving you a sincere reaction, I'm giving you this because I'm listening, or I'm like, I'm so invested. But I mean, it's so, it really is such an antiquated term. The whole, who's the resting bitch face? It was coined, wasn't it coined-ish for like Anna Kendrick?
I think that Anna Kendrick was on the cover of one of the like major stories about it, because there is scientific evidence behind it now that it's a thing. Like the New York Times and the Washington Post both did articles about, you know, the science behind resting bitch face. And
what's the science?
I don't know. I gotta look into it.
It's like if you just are just listening, you're you know, a bitch. If you're non-threatening, you're a bitch. It's just
So it's like it goes back to, I mean, think about the Mona Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
She looks like a cunt.
she's resting bitch face right there, you know? And if you look at, I don't know, I just think that if men make this face all the time,
Right.
and it means that they're serious and they're thinking and they are a serious human being. But when women do it, we want to kill somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amy.
Or
Amy
did.
is like, Amy said she was serious and scared. Yeah, she was 21 years old. She refused a plea deal at 21 years old because she wanted to prove to the world that she was innocent of planning the murder of her husband.
Yeah.
She refused a plea deal at 21 years old. And she chose to go to trial and she chose to take the stand. And she was angry. She was angry that the world had painted her in this light. She was angry that they were trying to say that Greg was a drug addict. She was angry that the whole world found out about this stupid sexual relationship or asymmetrical power dynamic between her and a 16-year-old kid. Like she came from an upper middle class family in New Hampshire, and I can tell you that in the 90s, during that time, you did not air your dirty laundry. My family would sweep some shit under the rug and never tell the world about it because they were too worried about what the neighbors thought, and they were too worried about what the school was going to think and what the family was going to think. And so you didn't deal with your shit out in the open.
Mm-hmm.
So for a 21-year-old who grew up that way to have all of her dirty laundry aired for the whole world and then to be, because of that dirty laundry, blamed for something she says she didn't do. Yeah, she was fucking angry.
Yeah.
And she was also on a shit ton of meds. They had her on Prozac. They had her on all this crazy shit. She was acting, you know, a little chaotic. She was trying to figure out what the fuck happened and how she was not going to she didn't want the world to know about this relationship with Bill Flynn.
It's so interesting just to correlate this to something that's happening currently. Are you following the Robert Robertson case?
The name sounds familiar, but no. So can you tell me about it?
No, it's the man in Texas on death row.
Yeah.
On death row,
Yeah.
who was quite literally, convicted of killing his daughter, who of shaken baby syndrome, because he showed weird emotion, and it turned out he was autistic. And the lead investigator and the original prosecutor were like, we got this wrong, and they're trying to save his life. But again, that was on, you know, emotion and on demeanor, and we know that like demeanor evidence is not, it does not hold up in court. I think about it, and you know, it's interesting. I always like hesitate to say things because I don't want to center myself, but I don't have another way of like saying it. I sometimes laugh at really inopportune moments, and it's so embarrassing, and it's so out of my control. Like I'm uncomfortable. I'm like, like,
Yeah.
I look like a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's ADHD. I don't know what it is, but like you can never assume you're going to react to something until you're in the middle of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Lacey asked a really good question, which I really struggle with this, but she said, do you think it was a good idea for her to take the stand? Most definitely attorneys tell their clients no, which I completely agree with. But I again, I can only think of this from what I would do. And I would definitely want to take the stand knowing that the prosecution would probably kind of railroad me on the stand. But I would feel so strongly about telling my side and making sure that the story was right for the jury. So it's a double-edged sword because you really, really, really want to defend yourself. You really want to say, you know, no, I didn't do this, and here are the reasons why, and please understand this, jury. But all it takes is a prosecutor to put you in one situation where you react
Yeah.
And that's the problem. She reacted to him. She reacted and she was angry and she was clipped. And because of that, the jury just went, oh, there she is. That's the same thing we already think.
Yeah.
So it's
Totally.
really difficult because I feel like if I, God forbid, if I were on trial for murder and I was desperate, like I know Karen Reed is desperate to tell her story.
Mm-hmm. It
would be a really difficult thing for me to take my lawyer's advice to not get on the stand.
Oh my God.
I don't know what I would do, honestly.
I absolutely understand. Did I ever tell you when, I think I've told this story somewhere, but I can't remember. I lose track of what podcast I say what on. Mm-hmm.
We also have to talk about your podcasts in a moment.
I think I talked about it on Swamp Talk. When the state of New Jersey was prosecuting my ex for falsifying information to Child Protective Services, the state press charges, and I was on the stand for two and three quarter days, one full day, and then one time until maybe like 3 or something.
Yeah.
And at the very end of the second day, and the minute this defense attorney said this, I knew exactly where it was going. It was at the end of my testimony. I was hysterical. I was so hysterical that actually I had given, I went on to have a mini stroke because I had like a migraine and this like pain in the back of my neck. Anyway, and he said, great. Now, Ellyn, where did you go to college? I said, Emerson College. And he said, and what did you major in?
Oh, no.
And I knew exactly where it was going. And I said, I double majored in acting and musical theater. It was 2 separate programs there. And he said, uh-huh. And so, and what do you do for a living?
Oh, my God.
And he said, so it would be fair to us to assume that you could cry on command.
Yes.
And Joey tells this story. I looked straight into his eyeballs and I was like, I didn't learn that skill.
Good for you.
But that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to paint me as an actress because you're not allowed feelings when you're an actor because they're all manufactured and they're all just, and it's like, what do you do? Because I did get emotional and I did cry because I'm a human being and I was talking about my daughter. But
it's also stressful. You're in front of a room of strangers who are deciding fate.
Yeah, it's just, and what was she going to do? She was 21. God, I was a fucking idiot at 21.
Oh my God. And I would have been mouthy too. I've always been mouthy and she's mouthy too. And if that if Maggiato had done to me what he did to her, we would have been in an all out word, and he would have just let me go off because I would have been saying the stupidest shit. And the opposite of that, one of the things that he did that it's really always bothered me. So one of the people that the defense called as a witness was one of Pam's best friends from when they were very young. Her name is Sonia. And they called Sonia because Sonia was there. She came as soon as she heard that Greg had passed away or had been murdered. And she spent a whole week with Pam, like sleeping with her because Pam was struggling so hard to sleep and was having the worst nightmares and all this stuff. And they put Sonia on the stand as a character witness, basically, to be like, well, what did you experience? What did you see from her in that week, a couple of weeks afterward, And Sonia was really nervous. She was also 21. And she was very emotional because one of her best friends, she wanted to defend her best friend and for her best friend not to go to prison for life. And so she was already, like, the emotions were there. They were already getting death threats. Like, Pam's family was getting death threats. Everyone involved was getting death threats. So the prosecutor cross-examines her, and she's never testified before. So, it's one of those situations where she would say something, she would start to answer a question, and she would say, well, I think that Pam really felt, and it would be an objection. You know what I mean? And they were just cutting her off because she's not allowed to say what she thinks Pam was feeling. She can only say what she observed, and she wasn't fully understanding that. And this guy reduced this woman to tears. He went after her. And he knew that if he went, and I, having just interviewed this guy for an hour, and I'm 48 and can pretty much handle myself pretty much.
Was the guy railroading you, right?
This guy, the gaslighting and the talking over me and trying to make me feel insecure and ignorant. I mean, can you imagine him doing that to a 21-year-old kid who has never taken a stand before and is trying to tell a story, trying to tell about her experiences? She never got any of it out because he berated her.
Yeah.
And
this happened in that Fox News interview.
Oh, geez.
And the minute she stood up for herself, what a bitch.
What a
Look
bitch.
at this bitch.
Oh, no, even better. Angry black woman.
Oh, yeah.
She's just an angry black woman. We knew that. We knew it, you know? And I'm just like, you can take black out of it even and just say angry woman, because that is, as soon as it happened, as soon as she started arguing with him, we're talking about Kamala Harris for the audience, by the way. As soon as she started arguing with Brett Baer, the Fox host, I was like, oh, God, here we go.
And this is a 60-year-old woman who is well-spoken, educated, accomplished, has stood up in a court of law, and then turned that into like a 21-year-old little girl.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So it's, you know, it's the same. And that's, and the same can be said. I mean, look at Hillary Clinton. I mean, the way she laughed, the way she answered questions, she never smiled, she's too hard, she's blah, blah, blah. And I can't believe that we are still having this conversation in 2024 about the fact that probably the most qualified human being to ever run for president is being dwindled down to, well, I don't know if a woman can handle this. Like, what the fuck are we doing? What are we doing?
It's the weird, it's everything. But that's the thing. That's that old saying, like, we've got to do everything backwards and in heels. Yep. We have to remain calm, but not too calm. Cause it's that fucking Barbie movie monologue.
Exactly.
You know, everything, it's no matter what Pam would have done, we're going to latch on to it. Cause she's a woman. Women don't do things like that.
Right.
Women don't do murders. So when they do, we're so fascinated by it. Yeah. And it's, I think it's interesting that you got some kickback on the resting bitch face, because, I mean, it's all part of it. It's all part of how, the bow, and it's all part of the pictures, and it's all, the Foxy Noxy with Amanda Knox. Yeah. These are things that we are able to frame with women that people wouldn't even dream for. I mean, could you imagine if Kamala played her playlist for 38 minutes at a town hall?
And just like shuffled and shimmied and no. I mean, that's the thing. The bar is so low for him. Mm-hmm. And it's insane. I mean, if you want to compare, people men who have been convicted of murder and women who have been convicted of murder, men are always like, oh, he was a psychopath. He was a violent, psychopath. Women are sex crazed, mm-hmm. manipulative, money grubbing whores. Mm-hmm. I mean, in the second episode, I think it's the second episode, I do a sort of a mashup of all these women. So Amanda Knox and Karen Reed and Lorena Bobbitt. And, Amanda Knox she said, they called me, and she listed off like 5 or 6 words that were just like sex crazed, perverted, not money grubbing, but like whore, manipulative, killer. And it's just like, that's the vernacular. That's what women are called. In whatever situation that they're in, not just like murder trials, but the idea that the prosecutor from 34 years ago, when I asked him a question, don't you think there's something to it that for 34 years she's been saying she is not guilty of this one thing that you've accused her of? And don't you think that there's something to it when a 21-year-old refuses a plea deal? And he said, no, she's just manipulating everybody still. She's just manipulating her ignorant followers. And he literally compared her followers to the people that believe that people are eating dogs and cats.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was his technique. That was his tactic to make people try to make me feel like, I was a supporter, which I told him, I'm just trying to get the facts out about this case.
Mm-hmm.
But he was trying to include me in this group of people that he thinks of as ignorant. And without calling me or them the name, he was like, oh, it's akin to the people who believe that dogs and cats are being eaten. Those are the people that support her ideas about guilt or innocence, and I just was like,
yeah,
I was blown away by that, and also the fact that he doesn't think he ever did anything wrong. I mean,
I really would love to. I would just love to talk to that guy, just like at a bar. I would just love to talk to him. The talking over, we see it time and time again, where men just think that they can talk louder.
Yeah.
And then they're given the right to talk over.
Yeah.
It's so wild and interesting. I would love somebody to do like an AI generated like display sort of presentation about what an acceptable Pam Smart would have been. How would she have dressed? How would she have walked into the courtroom? How would she have, been? Like, I would love an AI generated a perfect suspect. I don't know what that would look like. Would she be like ugly, or would she be pretty? Because usually people, statistics show that we actually listen more attentively to classically, what people would think of our good-looking people, right? So would she have been good-looking, or would she have been well-spoken? Because a well-spoken person usually is like manipulative and able to scheme more than a dumb person. It's like, I would love, I want to use AI for that.
I understand. Amy says the judicial system in New Hampshire was horrible during Pam's trial. No rules applied, and it was a circus. And then she said, what do I think? I agree. I mean, we are going through, I'll cover this much later in one of the episodes of the podcast, but in episode 7, I am covering the entire trial and everything that happened with it. The media circus, the jury not being sequestered until the second day of deliberations, and then being threatened with sequestration if they didn't come up with a verdict, juror misconduct, plea deals that existed but didn't exist, people lying on the stand, all that stuff. The judicial system was really messed up back then. And to go a step further, the judge, I don't know if I told you this, Ellen, but the judge who oversaw, who was on the case, he also got her appeal. So in her first appeal, which it shouldn't happen, but it does. And if there's nothing illegal about it, but this is a judge who is taking an appeal, and the appeal literally says the judge fucked up. Mm-hmm. And he's being asked to judge himself.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's never, just like Maggiato, is never going to say, I made mistakes. We should take a look at this again. This is the guy who was like, I want Clint Eastwood to play me in the movie. Like, this is the guy who was yelling and berating people, yelling at and berating people in the courtroom. And to the idea that our justice system exists, where in our justice system, it exists that one judge who oversaw a murder trial that put someone in prison for life without parole is then being asked to judge himself on whether he was fair. That is unfair. And that
and no one should be expected to do that quite. It's not even his ego. No. It's really hard to look at it. It's hard to judge yourself. That's just a weird position. He probably, is an egomaniac because most judges have so much power. But that honestly would be hard for me to do too.
I wouldn't want to be in that position. But the thing is, he could have recused himself.
Which he could have, yes.
He chose not to. I mean, and why would you choose not to?
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
understand.
if you would choose not to put ego over the thing that you promised to do, which is to uphold the Constitution, right? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it kind of blew her first appeal, you know, and I was talking to Matt, the lawyer, about this the other day because for so long, I think this is something that people don't fully understand, especially a lot of her followers and supporters, is that everybody always says this line, she has run out of appeals. She has nowhere to go. There's no place for her to, like, she can't continue pursuing this. But that's actually wrong, which is something I just found out about because I was saying the same thing. She has no options. She has no options for parole. She has no options for pardon. I mean, she can continue to petition the state for pardon, but she has no options for any more appeals, which is absolutely incorrect. Apparently, the state of New Hampshire, you can appeal as many times as you want. So I think the lawyers are going to be pushing for a new habeas with really good new evidence, you know. But yeah, the judicial system just sort of backs up, you know, our opinions about people. That's the thing I think that bothers me. If you look at like Adnan, if you look at Casey Anthony, if you look at the Menendez brothers, if you look at Scott Peterson, if you look at Pamela Smart, OJ, blah, 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 blah. None of this is really based in fact or law. It is based in personal opinion and the personal opinion of a jury.
well, also remember the law is interpretive.
Yeah.
And so that's why we get different, you know, outcomes on different cases because we are leaving these things to humans and we are, you know, by nature imperfect and everyone is going to interpret the law in a different way. Everyone also, you're coming in. It doesn't matter if you're a judge, especially if you're a jury, you're going in with your own set of morals, your own things that you're willing to fight for or to like let slide. And that's why sometimes like I call myself a goldfish because I can really be swayed by people's passion. I can be swayed because sometimes I think I'm just the dumbest person in the room. And so like we're putting this in flawed individuals because we are flawed. And so it's wild that they would have the same judge because most people are just going to double down on, you know, what they think, especially a man. There was a study that I saw on, and I feel like the first one was on artwork, and the second one I think was with actors, but it was asking people to critique their own work. And like, it was something like every woman critiqued herself, like something like whatever, I'm making it 70% harder than her male counterpart. So like, you know, an artist would sit and she would be like, well, I can see where this is a little overshadowed here. I don't know. The depth is a little, I would have changed the depth, you know, and like just sitting critiquing yourself, you know, like I can't even listen to my own podcast because I'm like, oh, cool. So you're stupid and you're dumb. That's funny. And you have an annoying voice. Oh, great. Listen to you. Because I can't do it. And like statistically, men will just be like, oh, yeah, I probably should have used blue instead of green there. Like,
yeah. I asked Maggiato the question. I said, is there anything you would change about, you know, how you handled this? And he said, he took a pregnant pause and was just like, no. He said, why would I even question what I did in a case I won? Which is why conviction integrity units exist. You know, it's like, I was blown away by that answer. We had a couple of comments here. Hold on a sec.
I think, yeah, exactly, Ashlyn. What I would give to have the confidence of a mediocre white man. It's baffling. It's the same with that fucking prosecutor from the Menendez trial.
Ugh.
She's like, nope, I nailed it. Nope, it was great.
Not just the prosecutor. It's the entire DA's office.
Yeah.
It was Chris Darden from OJ.
Yeah.
Who was like, oh, they're just using the abuse excuse again. This is ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, these children, oh, like what happened to them? It's disgusting what happened to them. Lacey said, I know Pam's mom still supports her, but has most of her family stood with her through this too. Yeah, they have. they're not quite as outspoken as Linda is. Linda has been, I mean, this woman, God, I feel so bad for her. She has spent 34 years defending her daughter, but not only like going on camera or writing to people or doing, you know, like what she does behind the scenes. Every single piece of information that has come in about Pam's case, Linda has it. She has every paper and it's in a box. And luckily, you know, she has shared some of that with me. This woman has, anytime something happened, she would go, okay, well, this is very important. I'm going to call the lawyer. I'm getting this to the lawyer, or I'm calling the police, or I'm doing, she has done that for 34 years. Pam's father is more reserved and a little bit quiet. They all, you know, they both support her. Her brother and sister both support her. They all believe in her innocence. And I want to be very clear when I say innocence, she fully admits responsibility for the inappropriate relationship with Bill Flynn. And she also fully takes responsibility for the fact that had she not had that relationship, had she not said some of the things that she said to Bill, that it wouldn't have led to Greg's death. I mean, she said to me one time, I didn't pull the trigger, but it's as if I did by bringing Bill Flynn into our lives, you know? And I'm sure we talked about this before. I think, you know, with this under 25-year-old brain, so 21 and 16, I mean, Lindsay and I had this conversation last night. We were talking about our 15 and 13-year-olds, and had they been put in a situation where they had to make a decision, like, they only think in the moment. There are no consequences. They have no idea what's going to happen. They don't care what's going to happen. And so I don't think anybody was thinking about that, you know? And if she was the mastermind of this, she did a pretty shitty job masterminding what happened in the aftermath, because she trusted a bunch of 16, 17, and 18-year-old kids to handle a murder and handle getting away with it. Like, what the, like, come on, you know? Yeah. Maggiato made a lot of money and still makes money on the guilt verdict. He absolutely does. He is no longer a practicing attorney. Although he did become a defense attorney, that's kind of what blew my mind in the conversation with him too, because I'm sitting there listening to a prosecutor, not a defense attorney.
Yeah, baby, but the money is in the defense. There's no money in being a prosecutor. The richest lawyers are defense attorneys.
Absolutely. Politics and money blurred the true story of what happened to Greg, for sure. And money is being made right now. Hey, Amy, what do you mean by money is being made right now? By whom? Who are you talking about?
Ashlyn has a question while Amy answers that. It says, is there anything we can do to show support or help her case?
Yeah, one of the things, so she has a new legal team. Her new lawyer is named Matt Zernhelt, and he is amazing. He's a post-conviction. He does a lot of amazing work. I either refer to him as like the Captain America of post-conviction or the Independent Innocence Project. He's amazing. I'm so glad he took on this case. But they started a legal fundraiser. It's on Pay to It, which I think the Karen Reed supporters went there as well. And they've got to raise about $75,000 for Matt to do this post-conviction. He has a team in his law firm that he's trying to pay. I mean, this guy, he's not by any means a money grubbing sort of lawyer. He literally needs to pay his people. So if you go to Pay to It and search Pamela Smart, you'll find the legal fundraiser that they've put together for her. And I think they've raised like 5,000 of the 75. But Matt's been working pro bono for, I want to say like 6 months at this point, or maybe 5 months at this point. And he would continue to do that whether there was any money or not. But he wants to be able, he has a lot of young people that are working really hard on this case. And so I think he wants to be able to pay them. So that's how you can help. Amy, let's see. Oh, Lacey said, I don't want to be a regular mom. I want to be a Linda. I love a mama bear. Absolutely. Linda is a down bitch. Maggiato came from New York to New Hampshire. He did. So Maggiato, interestingly.
Can we have a live with Maggiato?
I don't know if he would agree to it. He might. So one of the things I'm going to do is a town hall.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to do a town hall in person in New Hampshire. And I'm going to invite him. and I'm going to invite Pam's current lawyers. And
Can I moderate, Mel?
Oh, please.
Oh my God.
Someone needs to, when I watch, when I watch journalists hold someone to account that is like filibustering or gaslighting, oh, it makes my day. And somebody needs to do this to him. Someone needs to hold it. I wasn't able to do it. I tried.
My actual joy and pleasure. When it is so, listen, people think I'm like a man hater, and I'm not. I'm not. I just
love the dick.
I just, when you told me he was talking over you, it is an inexplicable, like when Brett was talking over Kamala, and listen, I can interrupt. I can be an interrupter. I get excited to talk. My ADHD springs in. But when it's a very specific kind of, okay, little lady, now you're done. Now I'm going to talk louder. When you told me that, I was like, the flames on the side of my face were burning, heaving, breathless flames.
I'm going to send you the full interview. I had to cut the interview up because so basically when we last talked about it, I was like, I'm going to air this whole interview and I'm going to do that Spirit of the Stairway thing where I say the things, like I come back and say the things that I wanted to say and didn't get a chance to say. And then when Amber heard the episode, she's like, oh my God, you can't do this. You're too defensive, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. But there are moments in this interview where I'm just asking the question. And he's going, Mel, over me. And then he's like, and then he goes, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but, and then just goes on for 5 minutes, and then I'm like, what question was I asking? Where was I? And at one point I said toward the end of the interview, I started to like kind of gain my ground, and he would give me an answer and I would be like, come on, Paul, that's a prosecutor's answer, and I would say things like that, but we were just arguing. I mean, and we were interrupting each other. You can hear me in the background being like, because I want to say something and then I can't get a word in, and so I'm like taking these deep breaths and blah, 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 blah. But I'll send you the full interview. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. But you know what's so funny? Again, and I have to go note, shut the fuck up, Nick Lachey. But it's so funny. I will never forget this. When Pence and Harris had that debate. Yeah. And she, with a smile, said, I'm speaking. Yeah. She put on that smile. Because remember, this woman has run a fucking courtroom.
Oh, yeah.
Put on a smile rather than being like, Mike, I'm talking.
Right. Right.
He said, I'm speaking.
Yeah.
She was still called a cunt.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, with a smile.
What was the other option? To let him interrupt her? That's what we do, because you're the man and you're talking louder and you're talking. So, like, this is the point. What is the answer? Give me the answer. I'll do it. Because then if you, because what it read to some was condescending. That's fine. It was condescending. She wasn't happy about being interrupted. She wasn't like, I'm speaking. She was going, I'm speaking. Right. And her smile was saying, fuck you. Yeah. But what else am I supposed to fucking do? So my question to everyone is, what are we supposed to do? The resting bitch face, which is just listening. You're a bitch. You're smiling. You're a condescending bitch. You get angry. You're an angry bitch. What is the solution? Give me a prototype so that I can just be an intelligent person who's trying to prove a point.
Yeah. Makes me crazy. And I hate when women get it, like women just go along with it. That drives me insane.
Oh, the women who have internalized misogyny are, I mean, hilarious. It's nails for salt. Like I say that all the time.
Okay, I know you have to run, so tell me what you have going on real quick and where everybody can find you and what's happening.
In addition to being Mel's biggest fan, we are also on the same network on Grab Bag Collab, where I do a Love is Blind recap podcast called Shut the Fuck Up, Nick Lachey. We have we're right smack dab in the middle of season 7, which sucks because UK, we covered UK, and UK was so freaking good. And then I have a true crime TV recap show with my bestie Joey Taranto called I Think Not. And then I have a true crime talk show called Robbie and Ellyn Solve the Case. But you can find all of that on my Instagram, just Ellyn Marsh. I'm there. And it's and I am so excited for the rest of the seasons to drop. It's going to be great and big and fun. And I think this is, no matter what people think about Pam, you know, you're not trying to move the needle. You're not trying to like change people's minds. I just think these conversations, these Menendez conversations, the Pam Smart conversations, the conversations that we're having that says Robert Robertson about, you know, people having autism, I think the conversations being, we think differently than we did 30 years ago. I think it's actually great.
A conversation. It's opening up a dialogue and it's debate, and I think that's healthy.
Yeah, we know more. We know more about mental health. We know more about neurodivergency. We know more about sexual assault. Yeah. We're more comfortable talking about male sexual assault, which is what, you know, what everyone always says. If it was the Menendez sisters, it would have been totally different. It wasn't. It was the Menendez brothers, and they were men, and they were sexually assaulted. Yeah. So I think that all of these cases that we're talking about now in a different way, Andrea Yates, you know, we're talking about postpartum psychosis. I think it's so relevant and it's really important. And also, like, I'm proud of us as a collective for saying, oops.
Oh, did I lose you?
Hold on.
Okay.
TikTok thinks I'm a bot. It asked me to prove I was a human.
It did the same thing to me. It's so strange.
It's so weird. I think it's actually, it makes me proud of our community to say we know more now.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it again. Let's reanalyze it and not just say, you know, that's what happened, because we're different. We're different as a society. And I think it's awesome. And I think the way that you have approached, you know, the In Between podcast is really refreshing to people, because most people are used to just such polarizing opinions, and you're not doing that. So I think it's going to be great. And I'm just really excited for you.
I love you. I mean, it wouldn't exist without you. You're the one who encouraged me to do it. You and Rebecca Lavoie.
Oh, she's such a dumb bitch. I love that woman.
I love her so much. I'm going to be on the readathon.
Oh my God. Her coverage of Karen Reed is second to none.
Well, 13th Juror is also good too. You should check
is it?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Okay, because I know you like months ago, you were like, are you up to date on the Karen Reed?
Yeah, I was like, tell me you know what's happening. Tell me you know what's happening so we can talk about it.
Yeah. April says, my grandmother used to say, pay no mind. Nope, I will pay all the mind. I love that.
All the mind, yes.
Let's do this again sometime.
Yes, I appreciate it.
And the new episode comes out tomorrow, right?
It does. Yep.
I'm excited. All right. Love you guys. Love you now.
See you later.
Bye,
I'm going to stick around for a little bit.
Okay. All right. I'm going to smile on my exit.
Okay, great.
Hold on. Let me smile.
You must be so smart. You're so smart.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
She's funny. You guys, thanks for hanging out. I know I missed a couple of things here. Amy, that's not what I'm talking about. I would pay good money to see Ellyn. Go ahead. Oh my God, I know. That is a brilliant idea, and I have to do that. I have to have her moderate. Yeah, so Amy, another interesting thing about the money is she does make a lot of money for everybody else, but not for herself. She's never really had any kind of good budget for legal. So I don't know, hopefully people will help, you know, with the legal fund so that she can be represented well. But anytime she does make money, like she can't write a book, she can't do a memoir, she can't do anything like that, because if she does, Greg Smart's family, you know, sued her in civil court right after the conviction, and they pretty much get any money that she makes off of anything like that. So she makes money for a lot of other people. She's not allowed to make money for herself, which is unfortunate because she doesn't have a lot of money, even for like commissary or anything like that. The media itself changed in many TV shows money on Greg's death. Yeah, I mean, there's still Bill Spencer, the reporter from New Hampshire, he works for a news organization in Houston now, but he's still their like resident Pam Smart expert. Anytime something comes up, they put him on air. He has been in films like, he was in the Murder in New Hampshire with Helen Hunt. The guy has a little bit of celebrity because of this, and he has a career because of this. Let's see. Hey, April. We are talking about a lot of different things. We're talking about resting bitch face. And okay, you're caught up now, so you know what we're talking about. I was on Robbie and Ellyn. I did an interview talking about the Pamela Smart case and my new podcast, which just came out last week and comes out every Wednesday on Grab Bag. Talking about the Pamela Smart case and my new podcast, which just came out last week and comes out every Wednesday on Grab Bag Collabs. All right. I really appreciate you all joining me for this live. I'm going to start doing these a little bit more. Lacey, who's in as one of my guests right now, is going to join me. I think we're talking about doing one on Thursday, Lace. We haven't figured out what time, but when we figure out what time we're doing it on Thursday, we will post it. I'll post it and let you know, so Lacey will join me. Lacey's been helping me with the podcast. She's helping me do some research, and I am so appreciative of her, and I love her, and she's family, but she's also one of my really good friends. Thanks, April. I appreciate that. Yeah, the next one comes out on Wednesday. So if you are a member on Grab Bag, Wednesday tomorrow, so you can listen to the next episode. The base of it is going to be 8 episodes, and then there's probably going to be a bunch of bonus episodes. So check that out. I am going to jump off because I just banged my phone. I'm going to jump off here because I have an appointment at 11. But I really, really appreciate you all joining me, and hopefully I can get back to doing more lives. I know I used to do them almost daily a couple of years ago. Hey, Laura, I'm just jumping off. I'm sad you're coming on now, but Lace, thanks so much, and I will see you Thursday. And be sure to check out the In Between podcast on Wednesdays at Grab Bag Collab. I appreciate you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.